Okay, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the Transit Commission Board meeting, Wednesday, October 30th, 2024. So I need a mover and a seconder to accept the agenda. Moved by Commissioner Collier, seconded by Commissioner Little. All those in favor? Great. Okay, any disclosures of conflict of interest? Seeing none. I need a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes. Moved by Commissioner Little, seconded by Commissioner Collier. Thank you very much. All those in favor? Great. Okay, so we're meant to have a presentation at 5:05. It is not quite 5:05 yet. So what I think I'm going to do is move to the communication part. So there should be, as part of the agenda, a communication from Mr. Preston and Ms. Lau received October 23rd, 2024. Does everyone have that, or is it a chance to review it? Okay, so I'm going to get a mover and a seconder to note and file. Moved by Commissioner Collier, seconded by Commissioner Little. Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? On the staff reports, I'm not sure. Yeah. Okay, so we're just going to move on to the staff reports. We'll circle back to the presentation and delegation once Mr. Preston gets here, unless Ms. Lau, are you content to speak to this on your own?
Thank you, Chair. Dr. Preston is delayed with the traffic, so if you can move the agenda to help him out, to help us out, so that we can present. Is that okay with you and the commission? Just move it back.
No, that's fine. Okay, so
Thank you.
Do you want a motion to amend the agenda?
We're just amending the order. We're not. Yeah, we're just changing the order. Do you need one? I don't think so. Is there anyone who's opposed to just quickly changing the order to allow both delegates to be present?
No new items. So.
Okay.
It's all good.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go to staff reports. So let's start with Ms. Burns. This is the 2025 Conventional Transit Service Plan. First, I need we'll go to Ms. Burns first and then I'll do the Burns.
So staff report number 1 sets out the proposed changes as part of the 2025 service plan. The proposed changes have taken direction from the 5-year service plan, customer contacts, and operator feedback. All recommendations were assessed and prioritized for inclusion into the draft plan, keeping in mind the 18,000 hours of and 6 additional peak period buses that have been a part of the approved budget. As is typical, the draft plan includes prioritized changes that exceed the approved budget, which allows for public feedback into the service planning process to prioritize the changes. As has been the case for the past number of years, the 2025 draft service plan is focused on addressing ongoing service challenges, including schedule adherence and crowding, as opposed to extending into new areas. With on-time performance and improved reliability continuing to be a top priority for passengers, many of the proposed changes are focused on addressing some of the most pressing areas of schedule adherence concerns, including the routes 2, 17, 28, and 90. In addition to the focus on crowding and schedule adherence, there are routing modifications proposed on Route 10 and the proposed introduction of a new Route 127. As part of the 5-year service plan, the West End was assessed to realign some of the routes to provide greater corridor coverage along key routes. As part of the assessment, it was proposed that Route 10 be realigned to operate on Wonderland north of Sarnia Road. This change would result in a single route that covers the majority of Wonderland Road corridor. The change would also extend Route 10 to service Masonville Place during all operating periods, which currently is only served by Route 10 during limited time periods. One concern that was raised with proposed routing modification was the loss of the capacity along Sarnia Road to Western University. To address this concern, a new Route 127 is proposed to be implemented. The new route would operate between Western University and the Capulet area, operating on a short turn of Route 27. The new route would have an increased frequency over the current Route 10 service, operating between 10 minutes and 30 minutes, depending on the service period. While passengers coming from further south on Oxford will have to transfer to access Western, with the proposed changes, the proposed frequency levels on Route 127 should make the transfer relatively easy. Route 127 is proposed to operate during the university school year only. In addition to the proposed changes outlined through the service planning process, there have also been requests from the Cherry Hill community bus passengers to assess the possibility of modifying one of the retail locations served to provide a more affordable option. As the community bus is designed with input from the community to ensure passenger needs are being met, a public information session will be held to gather feedback on possible changes. Any changes implemented on the community bus would be cost neutral. The next steps, following the approval in principle of the 2025 draft service plan, public engagement will commence in early November with an in-person drop-in sessions and online surveys. All feedback received will be assessed and evaluated to further prioritize the proposed changes to be within the approved budget. Final recommendations will be then presented to the Commission at the January 2025 meeting. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so before we move to discussion, I need a mover and a seconder on the recommendations, moved by Commissioner Collier, seconded by Commissioner Whittle. Thank you very much. Okay, any discussion? Mary, I'm looking at you.
Thank you, Chair. I do, and I don't know if it's a question now or we'll wait for the finance, but we did receive the 1.495 2025 savings in the update budget. And I just want to have some more details about it. So I don't know if we can talk about it now, or if you want to wait till we get to the finance part, it doesn't matter to me.
We can talk about it now because it's not really related to finance. It's related to next year's budget.
Okay.
And that was what the commission approved when you approved the budget in August. Essentially what that savings had to do with was the fact that we did not see the decrease in enrollment at both Fanshawe and Western that we anticipated when we tabled the multi-year budget. So we're going to have higher than expected revenues. So given that, coupled with a couple of other minor things, the commission approved essentially saying to the city, we need $1.5 million less than what we anticipated. So that's it in a nutshell. That's what that was about.
So that's related to the majority of it or almost all of it in terms of the
Yes.
savings, or was there any beyond that?
It had nothing to do with service. It was the fact that we were going to be getting more, once we got the confirmed numbers from the enrollment numbers from Western and Fanshawe, we realized that we were going to be getting more revenue. So it's also a one-time, we think it could be a one-time savings. We still anticipate that those enrollments will decline going forward, given the new caps on foreign students. So 2026 may be a different story. So the way we presented it to council was it was savings for 2025 only. If it should hold for 2026, then we would recommend again next year when the commission's looking at the 2026 budget to go forward with those savings again. But we didn't want to say it was a permanent savings because we're still unsure.
So thank you for that. I hope the numbers stay when I have the conversation with both university and the college. They're hoping their numbers will stay. It's just that the domestic will replace the international numbers. So hopefully for us, there will be no change, but thank you. No more questions.
Any other further discussion? Commissioner Councilor Burke.
Thank you, Chair. For the online engagement part, for the feedback, I see that for the community buses that we have, there's a public consultation plan for Cherry Hill Mall. I didn't see when the exact meeting for that date was.
Yeah, through the chair, the meeting is going to be held on November the 13th, from 2:30 to 4:30 p.m.
Thanks. And for that community meeting, that will also include the online portion as well, or is it just the in-person?
For the community meeting, it's, we will be going to discuss, the proposed changes to the community bus. So it'll be specifically focused on the changes to the community bus to get feedback from that community that is riding the community bus, to determine if the, overall majority of the riders are in favor of, making a modification to one of the retail locations that we serve.
So it's November
13th.
and no online portion?
No.
Any other questions or discussion?
Sure. The community bus change, would that bus go into the mall or would it stay on Hybrid and Huron?
Through the chair, that would be something that we would have to discuss with the property owners once we got confirmation that that is something that the community was looking to have. Ideally, with the community bus service, we would operate on property, as we do in other locations, just to have that door-to-door service to provide closer access.
It is quite a distance to get to the store from any stop along that way, so, okay, that's all I want to know.
Yeah.
Through the chair, just to remind me, we're using 40 foots for the community bus, right?
That is correct, yes.
And then for the 10/127, do we think that by doing the loop up to Fanshawe Park Road across to Masonville, that that's going to have any impact in terms of scheduled adherence, just given the amount of traffic that there is on Wonderland at any given day or
Yeah.
night?
Through the chair, we have done an assessment. We have actually gone out and driven it during different time periods. And what we're actually seeing is that it is slightly less time than what it takes to go through the university, just based on the amount of pedestrian traffic and everything through the university. So yeah, so we're not reducing the amount of overall round trip time. That would maintain the same. And we're actually seeing that it may actually be a little bit less time, so that schedule here should not be impacted.
Slack. Okay, correct. Those are my questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'm gonna call the question. All those in favor of the recommendation? Great. Any opposed? Seeing none, so carried. Thank you very much. All right. On to staff report number 2. This is from Ms. Flashny with respect to commission meeting protocol.
Thank you. As set out in the staff report, the commission has not historically adopted a specific procedure for commission meetings, but rather we've generally followed the bylaw that's adopted each term of council. Given the number of questions that have been raised over the past year and a bit with respect to the manner in which meeting agendas are set, prepared, and conducted, we just think it would be better for the commission to have a protocol that's approved by the commission that we can then post on the website. We can point the public to it and everybody's aware of the same document. What we've essentially done is taken the council bylaw and just pulled out the pieces that don't apply to the commission. The majority of what got pulled out is all the stuff about standing committees, because the commission doesn't have standing committees. So essentially this is a duplicate of what is the bylaw for council with all of the standing committee pieces pulled out. Again, if the commission does approve this protocol, we would post it on the website, and then that would be the document that we would rely upon going forward if there's ever any questions with respect to the manner in which agendas are set or meetings are conducted. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so first I need a mover and a seconder on the recommendation. Moved by Commissioner Little, seconded by Commissioner Coyle. Thank you very much. Okay, any discussion? Start with Commissioner Little, and then I see Councilor Ferrer.
So I like this, and I think it's good to have it documented, so no concerns from me. I'm just curious if we're offside on anything based on what's been documented here.
Through the chair, no, I wouldn't say we've been offside. I think it's more when a question comes up at the commission, sometimes you'll see us kind of going, oh, I'm not quite sure, where now we've got a document that, that Carolyn will have and will be able to refer to. So it's not so much about being offside, it's just to have a document that everybody is aware of and understands and knows that that's what we're going to refer to.
No, and I'm supportive of that. Just want to make sure we didn't have any gaps.
Yeah.
Great.
Councilor Ferrer.
Thank you. I went through this, obviously I recognize this, a lot of section 4 stuff. I did recognize, I guess in 10.6, it does have a quote that says the member shall immediately sit down. I'm assuming that's from the council part. So because we don't stand, just like maybe.
Oh, we could take that out.
Yeah, 10.6, I quickly went through it, so there could
Okay.
be other ones on that, but that's just one highlighted for you.
Okay, we could, yes. I mean, again, that's I think a friendly amendment that we could just pull out if everybody's on side with that. That's fine. I thought I caught them all.
Any other comments or questions? Further discussion? Okay, I am going to call the question. So all those in favor of the recommendation? Good. Any opposed? Seeing none, so carried. Okay, we are going to, and apologies for the shuffling the agenda, switch back to item number 5, and go back to the 5-minute presentation by Mr. Preston and Mr. Lau. So I'll invite you both to come forward. We've already noted and filed, the communication, so just so you're clear on what we are talking about.
Thank you. Just as we're getting started, just to make sure that we're not rushed, I'd like to ensure we have enough time for other full discussion. I'm wondering if the commissioner would entertain a request to extend the delegation by a couple more minutes. Maybe say 10 minutes, would that be fair?
I will say a maximum of 10 minutes in light of sort of the late start here, as long as it's understood that it is a presentation and that it's not actually a discussion. So we'll be receiving your presentation, and then it'll be pressed.
Sure, no problem. Another just quick clarifying question. We have a series of questions that we'd like to ask. Are we able to get answers from members of the commission to these questions today, or would you rather we just sort of run through what we have prepared and go through this?
So the purpose of a delegation with respect to public boards and commissions such as this one is to make a presentation. So delegates are not actually able to interact with a senior leadership member. My understanding is that those questions have already been put to this commission last year and were answered, but if you feel that further information is required, you can certainly write to Ms. Fleshny and myself, and we'll undertake to update any new information.
Perfect, excellent, thank you. Okay, so to begin, I want to apologize for being late. Of course, I relied on paratransit to get here today. And I have to say, actually, I was quite impressed. Paratransit was able to pick me up, despite saying that there was no ability to do same-day booking this morning. I thought was able to be facilitated and got me here in a reasonable time. So a little bit late, but a pleasant ride across the city nonetheless. One of the reasons why we wanted to come back to the commission to get some increased clarity is that after 2 years now, we've been watching. We have seen some improvement, some work that has moved forward at the commission, but there are still some things that we feel are either lagging behind or it's genuinely unclear as to when some of these features are going to come online. We're hoping that we can get a bit more information on that. So I think if we go to the first page of the slideshow that we presented, when we came back here in 2023, we had asked for increased same-day booking options and sensitivity training for drivers. So questions that we had for the commission, we were curious to know on average how many riders are being granted same-day rides. And I'm also curious to know how missed same-day rides are being tracked. So for example, this morning when I called for a same-day ride, I was told we do not do same-day bookings, but if you want to call later, we can see if we can get you a ride. If I had not called back, would that call have been tracked as a missed same-day ride, or would it be tracked as something else? I'm also curious to know if it would be possible for the public to get access to the training modules that are currently being used to train drivers, whether it be AODA training or any other sort of sensitivity training efforts that you're doing inside of the organization. I think it would be great for us to be able to see what types of work is being done internally to bring drivers into compliance with obligations. We move forward to 2024. We have 4 things that we were looking to get more information on. Number 1, there's a little typo there on the first bullet point. We're curious to know when Smart Card access is coming to the paratransit bus. As you, I'm sure know, under OREG 191/11, section 6, part 6, it states under the AODA that where a transportation service provides both conventional transportation services and specialized transportation services, the transportation service provider shall ensure that the same payment options are available for all transportation services. I've heard previously from the commission statements that you are fully in compliance for the AODA. So I asked you, can Smart Cards be used on paratransit? If the answer is no, then you are not in compliance. In terms of the online booking, we've been told on the work plan that online booking would be available by 2024. We wanted to know, is that work on track? Will there be online booking available for paratransit users by the end of this year? With the online booking, we'd like to know, is there live bus tracking with this service? And also, will the new service provide for efficiencies, increased efficiencies in ride booking and deployment of vehicles? If we turn to page 4, you will notice, once again, we had asked for increased accessibility on the LTC website. We have flagged previously that the LTC website does not pass WCAG 2.0 standards as required under the AODA. Again, the LTC has said they're fully compliant. I asked them to move to slide 5. Why? Your front page alone triggers 7 errors under the WCAG 2.0 standard. Not only that, but PDFs continue to share on your website that are not compliant with accessible formats. You'll note that the support person's application form is an image PDF, which is not compliant with screen readers. So I asked again, when will the LTC's website be AODA compliant? Last, but certainly not, we did propose the 4-year goal that was tied into strengthening right of capacity and also striking the working group to try to tackle the issues of accessibility. I want to thank everyone around this table for the work that you put in to raise the rates, to increase the budget for paratransit by 8%. We really appreciate it. And I think from what I've heard from talking to folks on the street, that this is already starting to be done. That is amazing. What we'd like to know is the LTC on track to continue to scale up the capacity for riders in 2025? We're also curious to know how things are going on the Accessibility Advisory Committee. We'd be curious to hear how many recommendations have been put forward on this committee. And we would also like to know how many of those recommendations have actually been implemented in 2024. We'd like to know just a little bit about how that committee is doing and what you guys are doing to work with them to improve accessibility here in the commission. And turn this over to Wendy.
So, thank you, Jeff. So I realized that there has been unrealized hours of service as planned. So my question would be, what's the contingency plan for the unrealized hours as well as, of course, the budget? It would be really helpful to understand that so that we know what is being projected in the coming months rather than 2025. That's my question. Thank you.
So I think in closing, we want to thank you for the work that you put in over the last 2 years. We do appreciate that this is difficult, that this is complicated, but we want to stress again that there is an urgent need for us to continue to improve accessibility in transit here in London. As some of you maybe know, I was included in an email earlier this week by a paratransit rider who missed a business meeting because paratransit was not able to get him there in time. And I want to end with a question that rider posed, that I posed to the LTC, which is, how long is it appropriate to wait? How long is it appropriate to wait for a ride to show up? How long is it appropriate to wait for changes to be made? We were here 2 years ago. We are here 2 years later. And on my list, by my count, we've achieved really one of the objectives. The question we really want to ask that we would love to get an answer to right now is, how much longer will we have to wait to get these changes implemented? Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Very much for your presentation. Any questions for our delegates? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and we're back to our staff report.
One question pertaining to that. When or how do any of those questions get answered from this point forward?
So when a delegation is before a commission, a public commission such as this one, they don't ask, there's no right of asking questions of the senior leadership team or the commission itself. So those questions have to be submitted. And then again, it's Ms. Poleshny typically who will respond. So if you have questions about some of those topics that you'd like to ask, during some of the work reports and staff reports, we can definitely do that, but there's no right of delegations to ask questions. Okay, staff report number 3, this is the 2024 work program conventional operations. Third quarter update, over to Mr. Butler.
Thank you, through the chair. This report provides updates for the operations initiatives through the third quarter of 2024. 3.4 for our on-time performance. We've provided you an update where we're at through the 3 quarters, especially with the impact all through September that was reported to the commission at our September meeting. That was referenced in staff report number 2. On to our Expect Respect program. We're happy to report that the rollout of this communication plan has begun and will continue into 2025. An example of the bus card is on the next page for you to review. It will be installed on all conventional buses, and I've also been the chair before I go to install all of their vehicles as well. For the bus lighting program, installation of the 150 bus stop lights is well underway. You'll see them in the city. We're working on a communications plan, our campaign for that lighting program as well. And we also wanted to update you on the White Oak Mall terminal. We are happy to note that we have been able to work with the mall and collaborated on a plan to return to service with articulated buses for route number 10 starting November 1st. And so we've also attached that map that outlines the stop location for you. With that, if there's any questions, happy to ask.
Okay, so first I need to move around to secondary details. Moved by Commissioner Collier, seconded by Commissioner Little. Thank you very much. Any discussion? Commissioner?
Through the chair, what is your measurement for success on this? Expect.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think what we're going to look for is a reduction in the number of incidents that are reported both internal and externally as far as what we see, what comes in from customers, what we're seeing from our employees about the events that they're happening, whether it's through our workplace violence program and respect with human rights policies that we have. I think the best way to measure that will be to see hopefully a reduction in those events that are happening through this communications program.
Do you have a set target?
Yeah.
With the sign fatigue that we have after COVID, do you think this is going to be the most effective campaign on the bus?
On the buses, yes, I think that's our best way to communicate on the buses with the bus card. It's just one part of our communication plan. It's going to be internally and on some of our facilities and on our insurance screens we have for our employees as well too, but on the bus itself, yes.
So is it just in the sign holder behind the driver's seat?
Yeah, it's in the advertising type space along the side. It's what we call the bus card. They're about that size. Couple feet, 2 by 3 feet that would be installed up there.
But we're not doing any placards above?
Yes.
Yeah,
We are.
okay.
Okay.
Along that, what's
Okay,
sometimes
sorry.
used for advertising.
I was just thinking with big space behind.
No, it's above the seats. Yeah, sorry.
All right, that's all the questions.
Commissioner Casari?
Through the chair, the bus stop lighting program, I was just wondering, is that motion activated or how do these solar lights?
And there's a push button
There's
that's
a push
on the post itself that activates the light.
So is there training for those who are visually impaired or something to know, like, will they know how to activate the lights that stops? Have you talked to I guess, the outside of it?
Yeah, I might defer to Katie on that, but I think, it's much like you see like on a crosswalk type button. That's what's used to activate the light that's above.
Yeah, through the chair, we have brought this to the ASAC committee vote. If there is concern, it's something we could look at doing further training.
Any other discussion? So we'll go to Councilor Sturgeon and we'll go to Councilor
Thank you, Mr. Chair, to staff. Monitoring and reporting on time performance. It states here the last quarter was 73.3%, and due to the report and situation in September 25, 2024. Besides that, what would be our usual number percentage in the past? What would we be running at?
Yeah, I mean, so in 2023, we were at in the low 60s for September itself. So that's the overall number for all 3 quarters. So year to date, that's on par for where we were at this time last year. It's a couple of percentage points different from where we were at this time last year. Relatively the same.
Yeah. And previous for the construction, this was a kind of similar, or was it much higher, much lower?
In the past, before so much construction, we were a little bit higher. We talked about before our goal being close to 90% or better. Yeah, we were a little better in the past, but there was a lot of construction. We'll get to that before a little later too.
Thank you. No more question on this report.
Over to Councilor Brad.
Thank you. For the White Oak Small Terminal update, is that gonna be the final configuration? They let us on the property now?
Yeah, I think it's been a good outcome, you know, it was frustrating to not have the Arctics on that Route 10, considering how busy it is, so it's been a good compromise to work with the mall and be able to shuffle things around a little bit and get at least the number 10 on there. And to have the Arctic service in it, so that's how it lies for now. I think we've got the best outcome we could at the time.
Any further discussion?
Just expected respect. Curious if you received any anecdotal feedback yet. I know it's early, but what are you hearing?
Oh, yeah, through the chair, it's so early that actual on-bus application is actually happening this weekend.
Oh, it's this weekend. Okay, my
The
apologies.
vendors in each weekend.
So psychically. That's great. Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, sorry for the. No,
Mr. Butler, what's in your crystal ball?
There you go. Exactly. That's where I'm going.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor to note and file, any opposed? Right, so carried. All right, over to Mr. Morneau, the 2024 work plan, fleet and facilities, third quarter update.
Thank you. Through the chair, the third quarter update for fleet facilities, report speaks for itself. I just want to draw attention to a few different points. 12.1, the bus replacement has been pushed out again an additional 2 months. It's mainly due or mostly due to part shortages. What the biggest part shortage right now is seating for the buses. So I just had an update again, last Thursday that we were pushed to February. And then we'll start with 140 footer. And then that'll go online, or that bus will be delivered in February, then we'll go to the Arctics and then back to the 40 footers again. I don't know the logic behind that, but that's where we stand. 12.2 facility upgrades, they're on track. Several months ago, you approved the new bus wash. It came from Sweden. It's now here being installed next week. Starting to erect that, and then there'll be 2 other big components to that. Hope to have that up and running by mid to end of December. Down to the fall service. So what we talked about the last meeting was we had to talk about, we're gonna be in trouble with making service through the months of September and October, just due to shortages in staff and just problems having the buses, parts, all that stuff related to it. Every day we've met service since September, since we went to cold fall service, which I was very proud of my team for that. And we're continuing to make service every day. We haven't missed it once. And then last, we talked about the new MTO program for the drive-on system. It's all online system now. We had several hiccups to get there. It started back in 2017, pushed to 19, then came live in August of this year. All of our staff is now trained up that does the MTOs. The online program works very well. We've had no issues at all with it. It's actually more streamlined and faster. It makes the MTO go a little bit smoother throughout the whole process, so it works very well. And with that, be happy to answer your questions.
Congratulations on meeting service. With that being said, I need a mover and a seconder required to note and file. Moved by Commissioner Collier, seconder. Councilor Farrer, thank you very much. Any discussion? Councilor Pidgeot?
So Richard, for staff, so when I look at this, the work plan for this year, 2024, the facility upgrade, it's all under priority 1A and 1B. Is this all that's remaining, or were there any other initiatives that are included in the 12.2 facility upgrades, or is this it?
So these are things, sorry, through the chair, these are things I pick out this year for next year. So we plan to go through the year where we're at. Then the things that hit us that we don't realize, furnaces went down or something like that, they'd be added on. But as for projects that I plan to do from the beginning of the year, they're all on track where we're at. Any projects that we would have delayed if I had something concrete work to be done, it's not pressing where it's going to be detrimental to buildings, so we do it to the following year. So our budgets, my budget aligns with that, so I never go over budget and upset Mike. So that's kind of where we're at with that.
Okay, thank you. And 12.3, it's considered 2C, which is life cycle maintenance. But here we have a couple of purchases. So it's not just maintenance, it's purchases as well. It could be combined.
Correct. You mean purchases in like a new compressor, correct?
Yes, because when I look at it, it's when a work plan under 2C, it says life cycle maintenance.
Yes,
So it's not just maintenance, it's replacement as well.
correct.
Okay. No more questions to this report. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none. Carried. All right, over to Mr. Wilson, staff report number 5. This is the 2024 work program specialized operations third quarter update.
Through the chair, staff report number 5 speaks to the third quarter work program items with respect to specialized operations. As stated in the report, the vendor struggled mightily in September with ensuring to staff all scheduled vehicles, negatively impacting the number of completed trips. Happy to report that they've made significant progress in October and are hopeful that the plan and initiatives they have in place will see this trend continue going forward. I'm also happy to share that the smart card handheld devices, training materials, and onboard posters have all been delivered to Boydigo, and the installation for same is underway currently. As stated in the report, all vehicles should be equipped by November 10th. We'll be seeing some vehicles in actual operation as early as next week with the readers. And then work continues with the scheduling system upgrade process, and to date, progress has been smooth and has gone as expected. Remote administration training for managers and the IT staff starts tomorrow, with staff training both for the employees here and the brokers to take the trips, as well as the vendor training staff will be taking place the weeks of December 2nd and December 9th, keeping us on track. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so you can move on to seconder to note and file, moved by Commissioner Little, seconded by Commissioner Martin. Thank you very much. Any discussion?
Specialized booking system replacement. So when I look at this, it says sometimes in January, then it says couple of months, 1 month following going live. So then are we looking for March 2025 kind of? That's the second and last paragraph on the page of the report. So it says we'll go live sometimes in January and 1 month following the go live date for phase 1. So are we looking kind of February, March 2025, or what will we be looking at?
So the detailed plan has go live January 15th for the initial piece. That includes the booking software for us internally, as well as the dispatch system, the scheduling system, and the driver mail, so the driver's tablet information. Following that, in the following month, so somewhere in February, we should have the passenger portal with notifications. So not much, February.
Talk to you 1 month earlier. Thank you very much. No more questions?
Commissioner Madden?
Yeah, I mean, this is all really good. This is a good report. Good to see. My question about, my question with the two different things is about communication to the riders. So with smart card readers, I know I see in here that it says that you're gonna have signs on the paratransit buses. Do you have anything else planned as communication?
So through the chair, in addition to dozens of reports that it's coming, there's also a startup message on the phone system. Here that says that smart.
While you're waiting on hold.
That's right. So that information has been going out. The buses as they get equipped with the smart card readers will have the new fare program on that bus, because you can't do them all in one day. It's going to be a bit of a wait. So all of the information will be on the buses as it's available. We wouldn't suggest buying stored value. I would suggest after the number of times, but people can start tapping the smart card like that the month that passes, as early as next week on the buses that it's available. So yes, on the phone and signage to come on the buses as it's installed. So it won't be on a bus that doesn't have the smart card reader yet, because it would be misleading. It's not in the bus yet.
A follow-up question. Are you planning a public announcement of it? Like, you know, like a media announcement to let people know, like on the radio or the TV or something?
Through the chair, defer to Carolyn on that one, but yes, there's already information going out with respect to social. She said
we do have some socials, through Madam Chair. There's a post on the website, and, we do mention in one of the future reports that we'll be, holding drop-in sessions and advertising that, and that will be one of the topics we'll be talking about as well.
So for education, like I think when you rolled out smart cards initially, there was a lot of public education about how to, right? That's a bunch of years ago. So I think this population probably needs to know how to get a card and how to load a card. And so I just want to ensure that that is.
And through the chair, there is a link on the website currently that propose leads to the how-to. And we will have that material at drop-in sessions as well.
Any further discussion? I knew it.
Yeah, no questions, but maybe a comment, and I try to attend most of the meetings of the ATSAC and ATAC, and these, some of these questions, concerns, comments, they are talked about there, and I do think that if there are certain concerns, and we know the big picture, but even the smaller ones, to somehow establish more communications through these two committees as well, because there are some, again, some more details that are addressed at these meetings, and the staff comes up with these initiatives as well, and maybe.
Councilor Kribel, so you have to address the commission, not a delegation or members of the audience, okay? Okay, so it's okay, continue.
Sorry, so I'm just saying that I think that would be helpful as well if the communication comes through these two committees. Because a lot of these questions are answered there as well, and these initiatives arise from the members of these committees, that I think that would be beneficial as well. That's all. Thank you.
Sorry, I think, Councilor Burr, did you, okay, so Councilor Burr, then, Commissioner Lund. Go ahead.
Thank you. So yeah, it's a big win, obviously. I'm really happy to see that, and I know that the rest of the commission is as well. And it does answer some of the delegation's questions that was asked. So, you know, smart card readers coming November 10th, knock on wood, I don't want to jinx anything like that, but it seems like the momentum is good. And then with the website, or with the online booking portion coming sometime in hopefully January, I can see that you guys have, you know, the servers updated, or the servers are already kind of set up and everything with that. So seems like we're on the right track, and I'm pretty happy to see that. So thank you very much, and good job.
Commissioner Ratton?
Is this the place I can ask a question about that came from the delegation?
Is it your question?
Their question. Well, yeah, it's a question about their question.
It needs to be your question, and if it's on topic with this particular staff report, yes, as long as it's your question and it lines up with what we're discussing.
Okay, so if it's not something from this staff report, I can't ask it.
Why don't you ask your question and then we'll decide what to do with it from there. How about that?
Okay,
Let's do
the
that.
one, I think this largely answered a lot of the questions. The one question that wasn't answered was about, the accessibility, the website. And so my question for that is, how do we get that addressed and answered? Like, I know that the report that came to the commission was that we are compliant with the AODA, and the report that came from the delegation was that we aren't. And so how do I know what the correct answer to that?
Okay, so Ms. Fletcher, you would like to speak to that?
I mean, I can speak generally. So back in April, the commission received a report on accessibility. One of the things that we talked about was the website. If you'll recall, there were a number of add-ins that needed to be updated in order for us to achieve compliance. All of that work culminated, and in April, we did report that we were compliant. What we also reported in that report, and I've actually got an excerpt here, is that our website is updated numerous times daily in order to keep track of detours and keep current information for riders by numerous people. And the process that we've established in order to make sure that things stay compliant is once a month, our communications team runs the website through a checker and makes any corrections that they need to make. So that's the process that we've got in place. That's the process that was communicated with the commission, and that's the process that we continue to follow.
Further discussion? Okay, I'm going to call the question, to note and file. All those in favor? Okay, any opposed? Great. So we're going to go to staff report number 6, that is an advocacy update. Back to you.
Thank you. This staff report provides an overview of the various advocacy efforts that are ongoing by both the Canadian Urban Transit Association federally and the Ontario Public Transit Association provincially. As an update to what's included in the report, the provincial government did release their fall economic statement earlier today, which unfortunately did not contain any hopeful signs that they were considering any programs that would help address the significant operating shortfalls that transit systems across the province are experiencing. You know, while they continue to tout the infrastructure investments in LRT lines throughout the GTHA, they have continued to avoid the discussion with respect to the cost of operating those systems once they're built. That is the key messaging that Opta will be putting forward at the advocacy days at Queen Park, which are scheduled for early December. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so first and foremost, mover and a seconder to note and moved by Commissioner Blair, second by Commissioner. Thank you very much. Okay, any discussion? Go ahead,
The
Councilor.
Chair of the staff, I think really good recommendations. My question, especially I like the number one because there is finances. Any expectations? Because when you are asking for 25, and sorry, by the way, when I see our general manager is currently chair of PUTA, I would imagine that's our general manager,
That's
correct? Okay. Any expectation? If they get back, when would they get back? If it's any deadline?
I mean, again, the advocacy days for CUDA were in September. The big push there was talking about the permanent transit fund, the Canadian Permanent Transit Fund. What we were asking was that they fast tracked it rather than starting the rollout in 2026. We asked them to move it to 2025 to help us close that infrastructure gap, and that was a resounding no. So we don't anticipate there'll be any big movement, especially with it looking very much like there's going to be a federal election before anybody would make any big movements. So we've somewhat shifted to now a mode of trying to protect, and I think you'll see recommendation number 2 was enshrine this in legislation to make it more difficult for future government to just wipe it out. You know, if it's in legislation, it's a little bit more work to make things go away, and at least then we've got something we can count on rather than a new government coming into power and then us, you know, waiting another 2 years for them to review the program to decide whether or not they're going to move forward with it. So the CUDA strategy has shifted a little bit to say, let's just at least get this protected so that we know we can rely on it regardless of what the outcome of the next federal election is.
Thank you. No more questions.
Other discussion? Okay, and then I call the question. All those in favor? You ready? Any opposed? Gary, are you opposed? Gary, are you opposed?
No.
Did you raise your hand?
I'm only getting ready for next report time.
Chair, that's what it is. Okay, so this is staff report number 7, 2024, road construction updates. Why are you not in like a Grim Reaper Halloween costume? It's Devil's Night.
Well, as I told the people here, we have a little thing that goes on here tomorrow with the costumes. I can stop that one.
I would have been okay with like kind of early.
It's high school. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Thank
Okay.
you for asking.
Road construction and special events update for
Yeah,
Mr. Butler.
thank you, Madam Chair. And through the chair, staff report number 7 is our latest update for you on the ongoing construction happening throughout the city. I want to just highlight a few things for you. Some good news. So the Wellington Gateway 1 and downtown Loop 3, we are anticipating that all affected routes are going to return to regular routing in just a few weeks as paving wraps up for the season. So it looks like they're starting a little bit of good news there. One update for you since this report was filed, we have some bad news is that we've learned that in about 3 weeks, we're going to lose access to our westbound stop at University Ave in Richmond by the main gates for Western Campus for the next 3 years due to construction of a new residence going up there. So all of our customers will have to proceed a little further west to Elgin Hall to catch the bus if they're traveling westbound. And then one last piece of good news to highlight is in the report that the Pond Mills Road is now, construction is wrapped up for the season, route number 30 back to regular routing. Like I say, work is shut down for the end of the construction season, but also known as winter, and it'll start back up next year. And so that's, those are the highlights from the report.
That's a lot further west, that Elgin stop.
That is, yeah.
That's, yeah. There's nothing we can do about it. Okay, mover and seconder to note and file. Moved by Commissioner Little, seconded by Commissioner Root. Thank you very much. Any discussion? Sorry, I said my discussion before we moved it, but I'm just thinking back to my law school days and thinking how my kids are. Okay, I'm gonna call the question. All those in favor to note and file? Any opposition? So carried. All right, over to Ms. Roy, 2024 customer engagements.
Thank you. In addition to attending a number of public events throughout the year, London Transit has held annual drop-ins. This year's event is scheduled for Tuesday, November 12th at the Central Library from 2 to 4 and 6 to 8. Topics for discussion will include the 2025 draft service plan and the 2020 to 2025 accessibility plan. And as I mentioned earlier, this will be a great opportunity to answer any questions with respect to the implementation of the specialized scheduling and dispatches.
Okay, so first we need a mover and a seconder to note and file. Moved by Commissioner Collier, seconded by Commissioner Little. Thank you very much. Any discussion? Going once, going twice. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Great. Any opposed? All right, you raised your hand at the right time. Okay. All right, so we're gonna deal with numbers 9, 10, and 11 together. Over to Mr. Greger for financial updates on our budgets for conventional, specialized, and.
Thank you. The three noted report about the year-to-date results for the period and the 3 quarters ending September 30th. Pertaining to staff report number 9, the conventional transit operating, key variances are consistent with, I'd say, through the month of August as well. Focusing on the favorable operating variance within our operating revenue due to higher than anticipated interest rates, continued favorable personnel variances due to ongoing staff vacancies, and favorable fuel prices. September was actually a very good month. Things have somewhat subsided. Probably see that at the pumps as well. Yeah, it was a little bit of a nice jump down for us, just a little more of a cushion. It also, as previously discussed, specialized net expenditures are favorable on the year-to-date basis. I think Mr. Wilson was speaking to earlier, the results from September in terms of some more continued shortfalls in service hours, but projecting that to come in line. And as well, the capital program well underway, and I think Mr. Morneau spoke to some of his key projects, with the last one and the most costly one being the bus wash. So we'll be watching that throughout the rest of the year. That'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so we're gonna move all 3 together. So I need a mover and a seconder to note and file staff reports number 9, 10, and 11. Moved by Commissioner Collier, seconded by Commissioner Little. Thank you very much. Any discussion, questions, comments from Mr. Greger on any of those reports?
Thank you, Sir Chair. We're starting with the comment that it's really incredible at the actuals on budget, how close we are. That's really, that's really amazing. And we are not getting further, we're actually getting closer and closer, so. That's positive. Thank you again for all the assumptions and explanations, because they do explain everything. On the second page of the report 9, I'm quite sure it is, but I want to make sure it says 2023 actual. We are talking about year-to-date September 30th, correct? Thank you for that. And then if we go last page to capital one, the first one, 4th line, facility upgrades, and it's 226 actual 801 budget. The questions I ask actually, and Craig answered to me, is those remaining, is that the expectation of the 600,000 remaining that we are gonna run out of, that we are gonna spend? Or would there be additional items in those 600,000 besides what Craig mentioned earlier?
Through the chair, most of it, I'm not sure of the exact number. I think it was around 500,000. Was the bus wash and some of his other programs. A big component, or this program is funded through the city. So traditionally, Craig is short, and in terms of, I think it's a $500,000 a year program. And, you know, he does the best as he can to spend that money and to, you know, but obviously use it well. We have the ability to carry it over. So, you know, if you were speaking to, if we were short, we probably would defer some of those programs or costs to the next year, because we know we have another program for the next year. Or if it was, you know, not super material or large, we may pull from gas tax. But generally, since I've been here, that's not been the case. We're always carry forward. That's why it's 801,000 on a $500,000 project. So, you know, 300,000 was carried over from last year. So.
And that's what through the chair, that's what I said earlier. So I'll plan ahead. So I'll say to Mike that basically I put in a bank account, we're saving for next year because I plan to do this. We knew the bus wash was gonna be a substantial amount of money, so we waited 2 years to get to that point, and that's where that is. So like he said, he's right, it was roughly 500,000 for the bus wash. And then the two other projects that are coexisting with that were somewhere around $45,000 that are going in simultaneously with the bus wash. So we'll run extremely close to right on our number this year.
Thank you for that. The lines below, information systems and hardware, through the chair. Any, we are about half or just above half, any savings there, or are there plans to spend it in the next last 3 months quarter?
Yeah, through the chair, this is a little more difficult of a one we often do carry over to the next year. This is a program that's funded through our internal capital reserve. So if we're short, if we have favorable savings, we roll them to the next year. I think the big projects remaining there are the specialized system that's going in. We did in our multi-year budget include a number of projects in terms of software, the finance system, and a couple things that we haven't been able to prioritize and get to. So those would roll over to the next year for sure.
Thank you for those answers. No more questions.
Any further discussion, comments, questions, Commissioner Gardner, Commissioner Martin, and then Commissioner Coyle?
And the question I have is about on the specialized one, the favorable contract service costs are now up to 358,000. So when that doesn't get spent, does that, I think if I remember right, last year you say it goes into the reserve fund. Does it stay earmarked for paratransit?
Through the chair, I think I may have tried to explain this before, in a prior meeting. 2024 is sort of new to us in terms of our funding. If you note that we don't have gas tax as a funding source, tightened things up in the multi-year budget to say we're gonna pull all from the city in terms of a source of funding, and then gas tax will be used to fund the conventional service. So that was always the outlet, in terms of if we were, favorable, and oftentimes it is. So I think, apart from refunding to the city, and I think that's an uncharted territory for us, I think the natural thing, and this is a discussion that we would have at year end, would be a gas tax deferral, so included in the gas tax account. We don't necessarily manage the gas tax of saying gas tax conventional, gas tax specialized, but we do report to the provincial government in terms of what that gas tax is used for, whether it was conventional, specialized, or capital. So I mean, it's definitely something I know you put it on the radar before, and it's kind of new to one of the I won't say shell game, but the notion of how to manage this at year end, would be definitely discussed. And I think Ms. Blushing, may want to chime in terms of how that could be utilized for specialized in the future. But I don't think when it was the case where it was needed for specialized, we weren't kind of keeping score that way, you know what I mean? But I think the ultimate piece is like you say, getting those service hours used. This is definitely one of those line items where we want to spend it all and the push. And I know, Mr. Wilson feels that. And I think a lot of the conversations he had with Wango this month was, really pushing hard to get that spent. So hopefully that helps.
If I could just add one small piece to that. The thing we have to keep in mind with any surpluses like that is they're one time, right? Because this is relating to the provider not being able to deliver. So
Right.
It's not as simple as saying, well, let's just take that money and we'll put extra hours in next year, because then the following year we wouldn't have that money. So that's why we utilize our reserves, and reserves are kind of our rainy day fund. And as Mike said, could be conventional, could be specialized. For example, there may be some new feature in the new system that comes out that we want for specialized that we haven't necessarily budgeted, but there's money sitting in a reserve. So that's really, it's more those kind of one-off things that you would utilize that money for, because it's not ongoing. You couldn't just say, let's increase service and keep that going.
Okay, thank you.
Any further comments, questions, or discussion? Oh, Commissioner Coyle, my apologies. I even heard.
Appreciate that. Actually looking at conventional and seeing that we have favorability with respect to rides 9 months in, but a bit of a drag on average fare. Are we thinking that's more PSE riders in terms of the mix that's actually riding? Or is it an absence of regular fare paying riders like me that aren't riding as much, or is it both, or do we know?
Through the chair, with transportation revenue being basically on track, 12,000 on 28 million and ridership, 1.4%. The mathematics is that it's the tuition-based fees. But apart from that, it's kind of hard to pinpoint or to identify much further than that. But I mean, it becomes a squeezing the water balloon kind of thing in terms of this variance, but,
And I would just add one piece, in the year following a fare increase, so
Yeah.
going into next year, we would always present you with an analysis to kind of say, this is what the impacts of that fare increase that went in on January 1 were, where we would take a harder look at, are the number of city passes up or down, that type of thing.
Right.
So we would do a little bit of a deeper dive after we've got a full year's worth of data, and so that you could expect that would come with next year's budget reports.
Because I'm also thinking about, our construction impacts and that lovely report number 7 that, people just don't get on the bus because, the crap factor is super high right now in terms of the ride. So, okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay, I am going to call the question. All those in favor of noting and filing staff reports 9, 10, and 11. Great, thank you. Any opposed? Okay, so carried. So that concludes our regular agenda. We're going to move on to agenda item number 8, which is in agenda. So first, I am going to need a mover and a seconder to take us in camera to consider a matter consistent with provision section 239 of the Municipal Act. The commission will move in camera to consider the following personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. Moved by Commissioner Collier, seconded by, thank you, Commissioner Little. And at this point, I am going to suggest, since we've been at this now for an hour, that we do take a health break and can bring in some snacks for everyone.
Yes.
Okay, so let's come back. It may be, how long does everybody want? Like 10, 15 minutes? Would that be sufficient? Yeah. Maybe 6:15?
Sure.
Great. Okay, so, I need a mover and a seconder to report progress. It can move by Commissioner Collier, seconded by Commissioner Little. So progress was made on personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. So the next item on the agenda, date of next meeting is Wednesday, November 27th at 5 p.m. May I please have a mover and a seconder to adjourn? Moved by second by Councilor Krugel. Thank you very much. All those in favor? Great.